You guys should have your scatter plot sketched onto page 27. If you don't know how to get your calculator to do the scatter plot, please let me know. I'm happy to show you how to do that. I cannot show you how to operate the calculator on test day, but I'm happy to show you today and tomorrow how to access any of those features.
Oh, we did this when I was born.
For this piece?
We did that yesterday.
I don't. We did it several times.
No, I'm talking about we just filled this stuff in. Did we do that?
Oh, no, we're doing it right now. Nobody has it filled in.
Oh.
This is what you were supposed to be working on while I was checking homework.
Oh, yeah, I was going. You just said
Oh, I thought you meant like gone for the day.
Oh.
I don't make a line.
How do you make a line? What do you mean, for which part?
The scatter plot, like, you know how you can put a line through it?
Oh, how you can get the line of best fit on there? So first you have to use the calculator to find the line of best fit. Do you remember how to make it do that? Okay, so go to Stat, go over to Calc. We're going to do option number 8. So if you scroll down until you see 8, that has linear regression, a plus bx. Hit enter. There's the equation for your line. Yeah, you should be able to get some labels like, here's your x variable, so you have those, and here's your y. So you could probably count these 10s to get a reasonable amount on there, because you see that your data goes between 8 and 21.
Who's that? Scatter plot?
Scatter plot.
I do that again because I got the other thing.
Okay, so do a scatter plot. Did you put your data in already?
Yes, that.
Okay. Hit y equals.
Y equals.
Clear that out. Now hit zoom 9.
Oh.
There you go.
Wait, after I get this and I solve this, the line will appear?
No, so you have this right here. The way you make it show you the line, if you hit y equals, and you hit bars, we're going to go down to statistics, option 5. Go over to EQ. One more. There you go. And hit enter. Nope, you want that first one.
Enter.
Hit enter. And now hit zoom 9 again.
Yeah.
Hey, how do I get the line of best fit?
That. Nope. Option 8. Right. How would you describe that scatter plot? Strong, negative, linear. Strong, negative, and linear. So there's my scatter plot. Here's what I got for my equation of my R value. If you don't remember how to make the calculator give you the equation and your R value, it's stat. You edit over, or you arrow over to calc, and it's option number 8. So strong negative linear relationship between time and number of people paying attention. There's no outliers or unusual features. That last sentence is optional if there aren't any outliers or unusual features. If there are, you have to talk about them. If there's none there, it's a good habit to get in to talk about it so that you don't forget to mention it when they are present. But they are probably not going to take off anything, not dock you points at all, if you don't have it. All right. I can go back to that, but next couple questions. It says, find the line of best fit using the equations for A and B. And I'm going to ask if you guys remember what the equations are for A and B. Does anybody remember what those are? So B would be your slope, right? The equation for your slope is going to be R times the standard deviation of the y's divided by the standard deviation of the x's. And you find both of these by doing stat. Then you go over to calc. How many variables were we working with? 2 variable. You might have to scroll a little bit. But stat, calc, you want it to calculate 2 variable statistics for you. And to find our A value. Does anybody remember how to do that one? You have to find the slope first because that's part of the equation to find your A value. To find A is the mean of y minus the slope times the mean of x. Do you need to know those for the test? Yes, you do. This equation right here reminds me a lot of just how you find slope. Slope is the change in y over the change in x. This is the standard deviation of y over the standard deviation of x multiplied by your r value. For A, you can kind of reverse engineer this one as well. Y equals mx plus b is your algebra 1 equation, but we call our slope b and our y-intercept a. If you solve that for A, remember we're working with the mean of y and the mean of x, I would subtract slope times the mean of x from both sides to be able to reverse engineer that one. Thank you, dear. So I want you guys to calculate A and B using that information. Means you're going to need to do those 2 variable stats so that you know what the mean of y, the mean of x, standard deviation of y, and standard deviation of x is. And I'll have you do corrections here.
Do we get R from
So R came from
that count
stat calc option 8.
and other?
The other information is stat calc option 2.
How far out do we have to go? How far out?
Like how many decimal places? I usually default to 3 decimal places.
What page are we?
We are on page 27. Once you've found A and B, so that you're supposed to confirm that that's the same thing when you do calc or stat calc option 8, you should get the same things for A and B or approximately the same things for A and B. I want you to use that equation to make a prediction for the number of people paying attention at 2.5 hours. And I want you to find and interpret R. You doing okay, dear? Do you need help finding anything? Okay. Predictions, you're usually going to take it out a little bit, but then in your, like if you were to write out a sentence at the end, you could say, so that would be about whatever. But in your work, since like the model is going to predict things that aren't necessarily possible. Does that make sense? Okay. You find R by doing stat, calc, and then option number 8, the same place that you go to get the equation. And then hit enter. Yep, there's your R value. Yeah, that'd be fine. The previous screen? Whenever you're asked to describe, whether that's describe the distribution, describe the data, you always want to be working context in there. So what things are being compared here? You want to make sure to stick that in there. I'm going to go ahead and put up my answers for 3, 4, and 5. So our R value was negative 0.99. Standard deviation of Y was 20.439. Standard deviation of X was 2.16. Depending on how many decimal places you took it out to, yours might be slightly different than this, but it should be within the ballpark of the same amount for your slope, negative 9.393. To find your y-intercept, you need the mean of y minus the slope that you just found times the mean of x. And I got about 79.75. You must know the equations for finding A and B for the test. Let me double check and see if it's on that cheat sheet. Formulas sheet, I suppose. Yes. Right here. Now it has it written a little differently here, but you can just reverse engineer that one to find A. So yes, you need to know them. Yes, they are on the formula sheet. So you'll need to go and look for them. Hint, they're on the first page. R value being negative 0.99, there's a strong negative linear relationship between time and number of people paying attention. Make sure you work your context in. You need context in the equation as well. And remember that hat is really important because the hat means what? Predicted. It's not an actual observed, this isn't what actually happened, this is what my model is predicting with these different pieces of input.
calculated just to get the same answer?
Yeah, because sometimes they'll not give you enough information for you to type it in and find a scatter plot. They'll give you the mean of y, the mean of x, standard deviation y, standard deviation of x, and you would have to reverse engineer that equation then. Yes.
Where did you get the 3 on the y, the equation of the y intercepts, like for x?
Where did I get this piece?
The 3.
Oh, the 3. That's the mean of x. So if you go in your calculator, if you do stat, calc, and then you choose option number 2, 2 variable stats, hit enter, your x bar right there.
Okay.
You can calculate x bar and y bar by hand. It's just the mean. So you add up all the x's and divide by however many you have. For y bar, you add up all your y's and divide by however many you have.
I have 2 questions. The first one is for number 3. Do you have to do all that, or can you just go to like the line thing and put the information in there?
So it depends on the information they give you. Here I gave you all the raw data, so you could enter that in the calculator and find it. But on some questions, they're not going to give you the raw data to put in the calculator. They're just going to give you x bar, y bar, standard deviation of x, standard deviation of y. And then you would need to use that information to find the equation of the least squares regression line.
Okay, and also do you get the formula sheet for the test?
Yes. Every single test, guys, if I ever forget to hand out that bright or that golden yellow formula sheet on the test, please remind me. You get to use that on every single test. That is the formula sheet that you will get for the short answer portion, the free response questions on the test. You get all the same information on the multiple choice, but it's laid out a little differently. When we get closer to the AP exam, I'll show you the format for that. Again, it's got all the same information on it. It's just organized differently. I don't know why. I think it's dumb. You're welcome. If you haven't already, go ahead and answer questions 6 and 7 on the front side. Or sorry, 6, 7, and 8 on the front side. If you've finished up with that, then flip it over and start on the back side of this. I will tell you that on the AP exam, they're much more interested in your interpretation in context than did you just plug it in the calculator and find it correctly, or did you read it off of the table correctly. They want to know what that value is, but if somehow you manage to grab the wrong value, but you interpret it correctly in context, you will get points for that. As you finish up these questions, my answers are up on the board. You can compare yours against mine. You're all done with page 27. Flip it over and answer the 6 questions that are on the back side.
about 79.75%. Would that be the same as predicted, or should I be more specific?
I have a thing. Hold on. I'm trying to remember from that effort we did the other day, yesterday. I say they made a big deal about word predicted. Sorry.
That's just specific.
Yeah. You could say predicted to be about. But yeah, anytime you're working with a least squares regression line, you work that predicted word in there. Absolutely. There you go. You're welcome. That's slightly different, but it doesn't sound so. I'm not sure. My way would have to have that information here for complicated progression. What does that value of S mean? Grab it from right here. What does it mean?
The amount, like, the way we predicted.
Mm-hmm. So what is it that we're predicting in this particular context?
How many people pay attention?
People paying attention. So the actual number of people paying attention is going to be about 3.143 away from the actual amount. And when you talk about the predicted amount, you should say it's been predicted by the least squares regression line, or LSRL. So the actual number of people paying attention is going to be about 3.143 away from the predicted amount calculated from the least squares regression line. See, there's my model answer. When you've been asked to calculate a residual, they are going to want your answer back as a sentence, not just a number. They want to know, anytime in statistics when you have these values, what did you just find? Residual is actual minus predicted. You are in an AP class. Actual minus predicted. That's the only way I'm able to remember it. Question number 12 is asking about the residual plot on the calculator. You can do this if you go into second y equals. The very last possible option is residual plot. I think it's like the 6th option out there or something like that. I don't remember how many exactly, but the last possible option is your residual plot.
So 5.
Should be, let me see. Oh, no, not that guy. Here.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I had for mine. Am I going to have you make a residual plot on the test? No. Am I going to ask you to possibly, is that not what it's showing you? Okay, I'll have to double check on the directions for that. I'm not going to have you make one on the test. Based on this, though, do you think a linear model is a good fit for this data? Yeah. What is it about the residual plot? We already know our R squared is really high. It's like 99%. What is it about the residual plot that would lead you to say that it's probably a good fit? Points are scattered. There's no discernible pattern to it. It just kind of looks like random scatter. And before we head out of here, I'll show you my answers for 13 and 14. Tomorrow I'm going to take questions off your review packet. So if you have not already started working through that, you absolutely need to come in with questions. I will work through any of the problems on there that you want me to. We can talk about any of the multiple choice questions, anything you guys need extra help with on this module or chapter. Ugh.